The Azir is a pretty permaban against Haichao. That was the case last year. It's the case this year. Things like Yanni being taken away from Saber as well. Notably, of course, the Varus and the Vi, kind of necessary bans on red side. Mel's still disabled, so unavailable for today's games. But, you know, things like Viego off the board as a carry for Xiaofang. And so, you know, it's really just going to be up to who can play the map better. And I think that that is exemplified by what we expected here, which is a first pick Taliyah.
Yep, good takeaway for Haichao as well. So not going to be able to get that champion throughout this entire series. And now, see what the answer is for LNG. We saw Zika cook on the Rumble. I do wonder if they will pick it at some point in this early going. Obviously, if you go and you pick it with the Taliyah, having double AP can be problematic at times. It does look like they will lock in that Rumble appropriately. Again, we're not shocked about that.
Yeah, no surprises there. You want to get Zika on something he can dominate on. We just saw last series how much this guy can do in team fights on both Rumble and even on something like Renekton if he's given the opportunity to do so. So it makes a lot of sense. You know, also adding on the Wukong, you've already got this really dangerous team fight setup coming in from LNG. You've got a lot of options with the Wukong Engage, who, you know, many would argue is one of the more consistent team fight engagers in the game right now. And then the Rumble Equalizer obviously coming in, but it's Ultra Prime doing the opposite, doubling down on a lot of the aggressive playmaking plays early. They're going to add their second global with Pantheon and a weak side tank on the top side that can still be useful with Sion.
Yeah, that kind of has somewhat of a global too with this ultimate, able to easily join any fight. I really like what both teams have put together so far. And, you know, I like the hovers that we see out of Haichao right now. Either one, I think I'm in for. It just looks like that these teams are going to be ready and raring to go at level 6. It's just a matter of how are Ultra Prime going to attack LNG, and if Ultra Prime is going to say, hey, you know what, we'll back off on something. We don't like this play. We won't full commit to a full 5v5. We'll instead go for dink and dunk plays, get some picks, get big that way, and that's how we're going to win our fights later.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Yanni is, you've got LNG indexing very heavily into all of this engage, into Annie, into Wukong, into the ability to set things up for more damage to come in later on in a fight. If Ultra Prime can avoid a lot of that engage or avoid a lot of the free initiation that is likely to come through from the side of LNG, it could be better, but a lot of bot laners taken off the board, of course, with topside selected. Yunara, Senna, Lucian off the board. Some of the more consistent either scalers or just early game team fighters, especially the Lucian getting taken away from Baiye. I think it makes a lot of sense, but we talked about OVO bringing a lot of that aggression coming in, bringing kind of the playmaking aspect. We'll see if he wants to go for a playmaker or more of just your standard engage support. It looks like it's going to be that playmaker with the Rakan coming in, and it just doubles down on this engage narrative. You have so many ways to go on LNG.
Yeah, and it leaves the door open for Fish 1 to be able to take a Xayah in the back half for that good lane combo, but also the protection. We've talked about he's a guy that has had some positioning issues. I think that Ultra Prime banning out the Senna was a good shout, because that's a champion that he's able to kind of sit in the back on. And meanwhile, for Ultra Prime, they're going to go lock in that Kai'Sa, very dive-esque with the Pantheon. You're going to pair it up with your good buddy Rel to make sure that you're able to get to the back line and kill anyone who stands in your way.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of hedges your bets in the late game as well. You've got the Taliyah and the Pantheon to be able to push forward, but sometimes we can see these comps just run out of steam, even with a gold lead, and especially here in Group Nirvana when fights are happening all the time anyways, it makes sense to really put your team in a position to win no matter what. But with the Xayah lock-in, it's all about team fights coming in for LNG. They are playing entirely for those 5v5s. Look at the amount of ways they have to start a fight and to push things forward. That's really what I want to highlight. It can come from anywhere on the map at any time, and that's something Ultra Prime, with their, you know, at times lackadaisical positioning. You talked about, you know, members maybe being a bit uncoordinated in terms of when their engage patterns come in. If they're a little bit, you know, worse at that in this game, I think LNG could do a really good job of punishing that.
Yeah, and for Ultra Prime, you know, all they need to do is be able to punish these LNG solo laners, right? Because Zika and Haichao, not champions that are traditionally able to, you know, escape sticky situations, right? You don't have an escape tool out of the Rumble or the Annie. These are champions that will also push up a little bit on side lanes, when given the opportunity. So if you're able to go punish them, use these double globals to your advantage with the Pantheon, with the Taliyah, get your leads that way, because again, you really don't want to face LNG in a straight up 5v5 unless you have a gold lead. This Ultra Prime team can scrap a little bit, right? Especially if this Kaisa gets going, like they can 5v5, but if you try to take it straight up early at like a Grubs or a Dragon post 6, you are going to lose unless you get a really good angle.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't stress that enough. But the lucky thing for them is that they do have the priority in these lanes to get that gold lead going, to get a lot of that tempo on the map going. That's where they're going to need to pressure things. You know, we already highlighted that we needed to see a lot out of Junhao. This is the game for it.
All right, we are heading on to Summoner's Rift finally for our first game of the first series of the day. LNG Ultra Prime, let's do it. Please tell me we're getting some gyos. I don't hear them, bro.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be happening, unfortunately.
That's tough. So sad, so sad. But hey, what can you do? It's a little hard with you know, the teams that are near the bottom of the barrel.
That's true. And our lower third is true as well, and I think it does highlight the point really well.
Started from the bottom, now we Hey, listen, he's undefeated. He is undefeated, right? This is
OVO is undefeated, I guess.
This is yeah, this is a true stat. Well, we'll see if
he's gonna get a chance to test it here.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna see a couple summoners get burnt up here, as Fish One taking the rough end of the trade. And you know, listen, Rakan's laning prowess is not great, guys. You know, everybody says Kai'Sa's weak early, but this 2v2 is like very Kaisa and Rel favored very early.
Yeah, and we are seeing that already as XiaoXia taking a lot of damage. Baiye as well.
Why did he go in? I'm so confused.
Yeah, no, honestly, it is a little bit surprising. I think XiaoXia missing his engage on the Rel definitely was a bit of a problem there for Ultra Prime. Execution still does matter quite a bit in terms of these skirmishes. We will have to see how it ends up breaking down. A lot of the big tools to go in were used unless they want to commit everything. Worth noting that Xayah does have Conqueror here, so, you know, we'll see how these fights end up playing out from that regard. But after that early aggression, I don't imagine that it's going to be more coming in from both sides. It looks like it's just going to be the push coming in from Kaisa. Jungler's not in the area to be able to capitalize. Pantheon doing the pretty standard clear at this point down to the bot side.
Yep, and he's going to be a bit of a step ahead. He is on a ward, so LNG well aware of where he's going to be. It does have a little bit better ganking pressure power with that point and click stun, but given the state that the lanes are in, Junhao probably not going to do all too much early. And you know, again, you're pretty fine with it if you're just doing ships passing in the night here, just as long as LNG is aware that, hey, you know, if Pantheon hits level 6, we're not dying on side lanes. We're not doing silly stuff. That's how you're going to get behind. That's how you're going to lose.
I think that's a perfect point to put out, because I really do think even these team comps, as much as we're talking about, okay, Pantheon Taliyah and things like that, as I'm interrupted.
Oh, XiaoXia's just, is he going to die? Here we go. He's going to flash away. He will survive, so not going to ledger that first death. You know, when he racks him up, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, I didn't really expect the Rel to step up there. I apologize for, you know, talking over that play.
No, but you're right, bro. It should not have happened.
Yeah, it was certainly an interesting decision there by XiaoXia. Xiaofang making his way down here. Baiye is alone. This is diveable.
All right, Baiye is going to stutter step a little bit. It's going to allow Xiaofang to get close and deal some damage to him as he wants to get at least a little bit back, but nothing really doing there. Junhao has been spotted out on the Scryers, so he's looking for a pretty good flank here, stacking up that Pantheon active on that Q. OVO misses the knock-up, but is able to slide out there, so all that's done is you deny Kaisa a little bit of CS.
It's still worth it, I would say, as an investment coming in from Xiaofang. He doesn't really lose anything by making that play happen. You know, Baiye might be in a little bit of a scarier position, but who did we highlight in the pre-show, Yanni? Who did we talk about needing to make sure that he was in a good spot? XiaoXia, in terms of how he played the early game, not exactly doing his AD carry any favors in that trade, as Xiaofang making his way to the top side, just looking for that crab. Junhao will be here as well, and luckily with the push, it'll go in favor of Ultra Prime. So it will just be a trade, and coming out of that, all things end up equal somehow.
Yeah, which is absolutely crazy. Sure, you've got a small gold lead for LNG, but it's not really going to last too long. It's the advantage you get by having Rumble into the Scion here, and that's really all you're going to get. Sure, you've got a small lead in the jungle, but, you know, not super stressed out about that either, as the Dragon has spawned. So we've crossed it to the 5-minute mark here. I still, again, don't imagine we're going to see too much early action, at least until these junglers hit level 6.
Yeah, I think that's really the break point, is you're looking at level 6 for both of these teams being really important with the double global coming in for Ultra Prime, the engage tools for Wukong and Annie coming in for LNG as well. So I'm really going to be looking at this Grubs fight as to who is going to establish a lot of pressure early. I think a lot of that is going to be on Ultra Prime and whether or not they want to utilize their global advantage or even just their fighting power with things like Pantheon early, or if Ultra Prime are actually going to be able to, or I guess LNG, if they're going to be able to, you know, survive that early onslaught and be able to start building, you know, some resources themselves. The more this game stays stagnant, I think the more that favors LNG. So with the swaps coming up to the top side, LNG's bot lane matching Ultra Primes, we are definitely setting up for, you know, a potential Grubs fight in 2 minutes when those end up spawning.
And it looks like they're going to swap back here as well, as Zika trying to put lane in a favorable spot for him is going to get a rude awakening when the bot lane of Ultra Prime shows up. But again, you do end up losing a little bit every time you make these swaps. You really have to make them count, because say you bleed out a CS or two and it becomes problematic.
Yeah, you can't really afford to go super behind if you're either of the top laners or AD carries in this game. I mean, Sion obviously can afford it a bit more than the Rumble, but Zika really needs to, you know, keep the pressure up and make sure that he's not punished too much in this 2v1 scenario. Xiaofang, though, starting up the Dragon. A bit risky with his bot lane on the top side, but the teleport is going to be coming in. Fish 1, though,
no.
in danger?
This is bad. This happens all the time. You leave your AD carry alone with a Scion, and bad things happen, as Fish 1 is forced to flash, but he flashed into the knockup. Zhang is not going to be able to finish him off, but the LNG AD carry will not be able to continue. Meanwhile, Ultra Prime has spotted out this Dragon. It's down to about 2,000 HP. Here comes the Weaver's Wall. Saber wants to get into the fight. Haichao is stunned. OVO has to get out, but they're going to turn it on to Baiye as Zika is overheated. It is melting the team, and First Blood goes over to Haichao. Now they're going to look for Junhao next as Tippers is in there, and he hops in and says, "Go, my friends, run away." A second kill going over to LNG. They take the Dragon too.
It's a huge fight win for LNG. Their level 6s are just a little bit better utilized in this fight, coming in especially from the two solo laners. Really well played, I would say, from both Zika and Haichao in terms of how this ended up breaking down. We're going to get a replay here, but, you know, as this whole fight happens, it's Ultra Prime who's initiating. Junhao flash engaging on the Haichao, but when the stuns come down right on top of the equalizer, this Pantheon can't really fight nearly as much. It looks like it's going to be okay, but with Baiye completely chunked out of this fight, all of a sudden the damage is gone. Rel burns fast. Junhao has no more damage left, especially after some of the Pantheon nerfs, and that's a disaster for Ultra Prime. We talked about them needing to make plays early. Well, they made a play, and it did not go their way.
Yeah, and the plays that we were expecting are a Pantheon Ultimate and a Weaver's Wall to go do something on a side lane. Instead, they go and they play right into LNG's hands, right? And they play into these team fights, and now they're going to start up these Grubs. They're going to look to at least snipe away the first one, but Xiaofang is here. Looks like Ultra Prime will be content with the one that they took. LNG will scoop up the last two.
Yeah, I think it's a worthwhile trade for Ultra Prime. You can't allow the Dragon 2 kills and 3 Grubs to go over to, you know, Rumble, Wukong, Xia. That would be a bit of a nightmare early game. So at least getting one there is definitely a positive, but definitely still a little bit of a rough spot. It's already a 1.5k gold lead for LNG, and that's spread relatively evenly. We talked about Zika on the Rumble needing to generate that lead. I think he is definitely in a position to do that, but we'll have to see how they end up playing out the rest of this mid game. OBO continuing to pressure. But it should just be this bot lane now with Xia hitting level 6 that ends up, you know, really grabbing that push that they maybe didn't have at level 1.
Yeah, and there's just leads everywhere for LNG, even in this bot lane where, you know, neither carry has really gotten in on the action. Obviously, Baiye was in that fight, and Fish 1 got run down by Jiang, but, you know, it's just a standard CS lead coming out for Fish 1, right? And this was the consequence of a couple of these swaps. Xiao's just going to make a flash play here. OVO is going to taunt up 2, but Junhao shows up to the party as well. Fish 1, you're on the wrong side of the tracks, buddy. I don't really know what to tell you. You were cooked from the moment the fight started.
Yeah, that's how you're supposed to use the Pantheon in the early game with these aggressive plays. It's a nice engage from Ultra Prime. LNG understand that they win the 2v2 and just forget that there are a bunch of globals on the map to fight over, and unfortunately Fish 1 pays the price for it. We'll see how much that ends up mattering. Obviously, the kill going over to Baiye is best case scenario, but we'll see what he can do. Is a little bit of a trade here.
Oh, yeah, Baiye's going to die because of that. Yeah, this teleport's coming in. And you realized it a little bit too late. You're going to see Yanni fly right by, and Haichao is looking to run this man down. OVO will land the knock-up and set him up and knock him down for Haichao.
Yeah, very, very big pickup there. Big mistake by Baiye. You can't really overextend in that instance after being the one to get funneled some gold in the early game. You are the win condition. More fighting bot lane here. Yeah,
Zika overheated, so these auto attacks are doing so much damage. XiaoXia showing up to the bottom side, as is Xiaofang. So we won't see any further fighting there, but in a minute 45, I'm sure we will see some more, Kman.
Yeah, that was your, that was almost a group Nirvana moment. I expected Zika just naturally to drop the equalizer with how things have been going here.
I did too.
You know, he ends up backing off, you know, showing a little bit of restraint in the instance. You're right, though. Minute and 30 on the next Dragon here. It will be Cloud Dragon, so no Mountain or Cloud Soul this game for either team. LNG obviously want to keep stacking those. It's really, really good for their comp to be able to get to a late Dragon fight as early as possible, force some of these 5v5s in small chokeholds, and so if they're able to, you know, continue to control that space, that is a big deal, but by that point, we're going to see a lot of those ultimates back up for everybody on the map, so we'll see if Ultra Prime maybe want to make a counterplay. Saber just getting some plates on the top side.
And now you could think of like, oh, where do you attack next if you're Ultra Prime, right, with these double globals? Well, the problem is Zika's flash is going to be up very soon, you know, sooner than Junhao's ultimate. So, you know, I really don't know where you're going to attack next. You're going to have to force a flash out somewhere, and that usually means using one of these globals or having a sneaky play work out for you. And if you're using a global just to burn summoners, that's just not good enough, Kman.
It's certainly not. It is not exactly, you know, what you want to do. OVO has a career 72.7% win rate. It does go to show that this is, you know, something that LNG hopefully can invest in. They have clearly put a priority on their development track with, you know, the promotion of Fish 1 and OVO coming in. But Zika, as you said, could potentially be a target.
This is how you burn summoners, but look who it is. It's OVO, baby. The MVP showing up and saying, hey, don't you dare dive my top laner. I don't know if Ultra Prime's going to listen or not. It looks like they will listen, and they will back off. To scoop up that wave pretty easily as the 80 carries will do the duel. As Junhao looking to come in over the wall. He's just ulting in and backing.
That is a nightmare for Ultra Prime. That could not have gone worse. I think they just assumed that Fish 1 would kite back up into his own jungle, but of course he just kites back into his turret, as anybody would in that scenario, and that's a free dragon for LNG. That's the second Drake of the game, and Yanni, I already told you how important these dragons are for LNG to force these free chokehold fights later on in the game. This is a pretty big mistake, and now that summoner is gone as well, and you know, with Herald spawning in 2 minutes, that could be a lot of map pressure given over for free to LNG.
And you've got Pantheon Talia, and you're just not doing anything with it. Saber has ulted 1 time this game. Junhao, I don't even know if we count that one, bro. That was tough. I understand wanting to make this play right as the dragon's spawning, right? But even if you get the kill, right, you still lose the objective. It only makes you feel a little bit better. And again, as you pointed out, these chokehold fights later, it's going to be exactly what LNG wants. They're allowed to just kind of scale into this game for free, right? Xiaofang's got his Trinity Force, hasn't really had any sort of resistance toward it. As you can see, Haichao is definitely unsure of whether or not it was safe to walk up there. Good sidestep, though, means he's A-okay. Oh, hold on. We might have members called out here. XiaoXia is going to get engaged on the Cyclone. Doesn't quite knock him up. Xiaofang, with the second one, will finally knock him up with that one, forcing the flash out of XiaoXia, taking him down below half HP.
Yeah, it's good to get the flash out of Rel. You know, Summoner's Spellbook will make that a little bit less punishing, but still really nice to be able to grab that Summoner. So we'll see how that ends up playing out here. Haichao just gets a lot of free gold on the top side. Teleport will need to be burned, and we have to trade bot lane. Zhang's in trouble.
Yeah, the equalizer wasn't that great, but Zika is in the danger zone, and he's going to try to melt him. He wanted to backing off because he realizes this is not the fight for him, as Zhang is looking to be the 1v1 king. Can he get the job done? He's trying to get away. Zika will be able to walk out and survive. Oh, man, this is one weird 1v1s here, Kman.
That's what we want to see out of Group Nirvana. We don't want to see controlled. We don't want to see, like, macro-oriented gameplay. We want to see these 1v1s. We want to see fights, and Junhao might be giving us that on the top side here as he once again looks to dive. Haichao is the target this time, though, but Xiaofang in the area. That makes this impossible.
Yeah, it's just more time that Ultra Prime is spending that they are unable to make any headway or progress in their game, right? And the longer that goes, the less effective this Pantheon is going to be, right? OVO wants a piece of it. He's going all the way in. He charms up 2 members. Over the top is Haichao doing good damage. So they managed to find Saber, and now they're going to look over to Junhao as well. Double teleports coming in as they chase down the Pantheon. Fish1 looking to join the fight, but Junhao is already dead. It is a 2-0 in favor of LNG as they are running this game.
That is just a bit of an aggressiveness diff. You know, that's all I can really say. Ultra Prime trying to find some sort of advantage on Haichao on the top side of the map with him being potentially diveable. LNG, you know, scouting the play really well and just re-engaging. It's a free win for LNG with their setup, and this game is getting harder and harder for Ultra Prime to play. Not only have they lost almost every objective on the map as a team with Talia and Pantheon and that wants to play early, but they're in a position now where they have to walk into a 3-kill Annie, where they have to start checking brushes with a potential Rakan or a Wukong jumping on top of them. This is a very scary game moving forward for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, now it's just a matter of Haichao, right? Can he actually convert this? Take a look at this replay again. This is the only Rakan that I know that would willingly walk through Talia's Legos on the ground, right?
Yeah, you know, you don't often see a Rakan get more aggressive once Talia puts down the ground there, but OVO understanding that this is just a free fight win. Ultra Prime don't have the raw combat strength right now without those ultimates. Haichao in danger?
Haichao.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's just
dead.
deleted!
Well, the question was, can he convert? The answer is, well, not at least right now. Is Baiye getting credit for that kill does make things a little scary here. We all know what LPL Kaisis can do. So Rift Herald is going to... Oh, run right into the wall! Nice job there by Saber. Hoping for a little bit more effectiveness out of these Weaver's walls, but listen, you'll take what you can get as Shelly appearing to have some problems here with this turret, unable to get the job done. Turret going down over on the top side there. Good job by Baiye. We have first turret for that one.
Yeah, it's actually a really big swing in favor of Ultra Prime. Not that it completely eliminates any of the problems that they're under, but that was a really, really nice situation across the map. We'll see how Haichao ends up getting caught here. Just walks in to the Scion Q. Unfortunately, gets knocked up right into the ultimate, and, you know, with a lot of the other macro threats coming in, that he is going to get taken down. But that's a shutdown going over in favor of Ultra Prime. That's also blocking the advantage that you got from giving up Rift Herald. And so, overall, a pretty decent play. They do have to trade the bot tier 1 for it, and we're still pretty far behind in this instance, but gonna make another play.
Oh, what did I just witness, bro?
Absolute disaster is what you just witnessed, Yanni. This is maybe not going as Haichao intended. You know, unfortunately for Ultra Prime, even with that, that will be Soul Point going over to LNG. Making that play on the top side does give full credence for LNG to be able to take it here on the bottom side, but looks like they might have to trade top lane tier 2 to do it.
You know what? Honestly, that's fine. I think LNG is still fine with it, despite the fact that it's like, oh man, that's really horrible that this play happened. Like, again, you just give up the dragon. I don't. They have the right idea. Hey, we want to make these side lane plays. But they're just doing it at the worst times possible, Kman.
We highlighted this. This team's macro is, you know, it leaves a lot to be desired. And I think we're seeing that here with the poor evaluation, I would say, of everything going on. Haichao once again walking up. Jung is in the area, so we'll see if he ends up falling for the trap once again. He senses the fear. He's got the heartbeat, you know, beating in the back of his head. He understands the danger that he might be in, so ends up not making the same mistake twice. But yeah, that's Soul Point for LNG. I mean, in 4 minutes, we're going to have a fight over Soul, and that is excellent for an LNG team that's not only still up in gold, even if the gold lead has shrunk, but is really good in those kinds of fights.
Yep. All needs is just a nice Rumble equalizer plus Wukong Cyclone, a little anti-ultimate for good measure. Honestly, you drop all the ultimates down, you kill people, and you win the game. And that's exactly what LNG is prepared to do. The question is, can Ultra Prime do anything to close this gold gap, to get some more gold on their carries? We do see Baiye is on 2 items. He's probably not going to get to a third during that time unless something goes crazy well for Ultra Prime and really bad for LNG. He might just finish boots, and that's about it. But, you know, this Kai'Sa, going to be quite formidable in this particular fight that'll be happening in just over 3 minutes. You know, and now this is the time where I really wonder, was barrier the right move? Because waiting through some of the CC, you know, the Recon charm and the any potential stun, I know they're not all guaranteed like a regular, you know, charm on a basic ability or anything, but this is worrisome.
Yeah, especially for a champion like, you know, Kaisa, who has to be in the action in order to really make a big difference. Otacon has spawned as well, worth noting at the 20-minute mark here. Saber respecting the fact that LNG are putting resources down here, but definitely one of those things that you have to watch out for. And if we're going to hype up Baiye, we have to talk about Fish 1. Not been
Fish
involved
0
yet, but right now LNG doesn't care. They're starting up the Otacon, and they're bursting this down. We'll see if Ultra Prime want to make a counterplay.
Here we go. All right. They have vision, so they know what's going on here. Weaver's Wall coming through to cut off Ultra Prime. Well, Saber will at least put the wall down. All right, let's see what Ultra Prime's got. 3,000 HP, getting lower and lower. Sion coming through, doing a lot of damage to Fish 1. Fish 1's got to try to get out of there. Junhao gets away from the Otacon. A mess of a fight on both sides, and Otacon secured for LNG as Xiaofang's trying to get out of there. Baiye gets the kill, but will he be able to survive? Trying to get back to the rest of his team.
Baiye
Dodges the knockup as Baiye is playing so well in this fight, and LNG has been completely wiped. Zika trying to get out as Saber will chase him down, get him with the seismic shove, and the rest of the squad hops on top. And there we go, Ultra Prime.
They don't get the Otacon, but they get everything else in the fight. It's massive for Ultra Prime. It's really poorly executed by LNG, who allow their carries to get demolished at the start of the fight by the Sion and all the damage coming in right onto the backline. But Ultra Prime capitalizing really well, and we highlighted Baiye. No third item, no problem, as he is able to really step up here. The equalizer is very early, but at this point, Fish 1 is out of this fight. Haichao gets ulted on by Junhao. Your two main damage dealers are not involved in this at all. Luckily for Xiaofang, despite how low he still is able to grab the Otacon. It would have been a nightmare if that wasn't the case, but despite all of the pressure coming in onto Baiye, OVO ends up missing the knockup when it matters the most, and he ends up falling. It's the Kaisa that prevails. It's Ultra Prime who ends up putting themselves in a great spot, and with Dragon spawning up soon, they could have just given themselves a second life.
Yep, now up a couple hundred gold. Again, they don't have that Otacon, and there's quite a few Spirit Petals on the side of LNG. Not really making too much of a difference in the experience department. In fact, Zhang is up a level on Zeka. It's about half a level, we'll call it, as he'll be digging to 14 very soon. But you already see a lot of map movement going on as everybody's congregating around this mid lane with 35 seconds until this dragon came in.
This is a huge, huge turning point in the game. Ultra Prime doing a good job of establishing, you know, their pressure here, trying to get as much vision as possible, but they've not been able to clear out all of LNG's vision, which is very crucial depending on how they want to play this final fight. If they can get their ultimates off, if they can start controlling that area, that zone, it's going to be a big problem for Ultra Prime. So keeping your pressure up, making sure you have shove in the mid lane is essential here, which Saber is absolutely doing.
And none of these players have flash right now, Kman. And with the amount of CC that you see on either of these sides, a small misstep is certain death. Soldier Prime has started the dragon up as Xiaofang looking for a crazy flank, maybe going to try to get in the back of the pit here, start to surprise some people as LNG look to move their way down. He is in that sneaky, sneaky part of the pit, waiting for him to just go right over and hit a Cyclone on a multiple members. There's that Weaver's Wall just cutting off LNG, but again, they're not bursting the dragon right now. It's just getting slightly low. Xiaofang, perfectly timed, waiting right on top of Baiye. See you later, AD carry. XiaoXia going to be the next target. He will burn away. They'll turn onto Junhao next, and he will go down. Zhang can only try and cry as he falls too. Soul secured for LNG, and that could be the knockout blow.
It's a gorgeous flank from Xiaofang. He understands he's exactly not on vision because, as we mentioned before that fight, it wasn't really great vision control coming in from Ultra Prime. They did not do a good enough job of securing the area. The Wukong is allowed free passage into the pit, and from that point, the engage is dynamic. The Wukong ends up completely blowing up the fight. Baiye, who has all the gold on Ultra Prime, has no chance to even play the game. So, big credit to to LNG rather, obviously not Ultra Prime in this instance, but you know, big credit to them for executing. You can see it's just immediately right on top of the 2 primary targets. OVO with a really nice follow-up, and, you know, Baiye being the main target. Even the XiaoXia ult cannot save him at that point with the Kaisa gone. It is over, and Soul has now been acquired. And it's not just a Soul, it's Ocean Soul for a team with Wukong, for a team with Rakan. This is a big problem, I would say, overall for Ultra Prime, and just as they fought their way back into the game, it looks like they might have given it away again.
The creativity on this Wukong. A1. You knew it, you saw it coming from a mile away, but if you're locked in the game, you're like, damn, how did we miss that one? Baron now spawning here. LNG have complete purchase of the map. They're congregating around this Baron. 2 members of Ultra Prime are in the mid lane. It looks like they're just waiting for somebody to walk up when they really shouldn't. So Rumble gonna go get this giant wave shoved in. Now he's gonna deal with XiaoXia, who's in the middle of no man's land right now. Weaver's Wall going to come through to at least cut off the rest of LNG, and we have a teleport coming in from behind. We have a play that's being made by Ultra Prime because the members are split. Rumble going to drop that equalizer, trying to make big plays, but OVO gets in there for a big taunt, and now the question is, can Fish One get the damage out and stay safe? He manages to take out one, and he's looking for other targets. Junhao trying to deal with the Rumble, but he just can't, and down goes Talia. Down goes Ultra Prime. It is an ace for LNG.
It looks like it might actually be a potential play made for Ultra Prime, but again, the Rakan can enter that action so quickly, and unfortunately, no AD carry, no win, as Baron is started up here by LNG. This should absolutely be free. That's Ocean Soul, that's Baron, that's everything on the map going in favor of LNG. Hope we get a replay of that, because one thing I really want to highlight is Haichao in that fight, who essentially just 1v1s Baiye off the map on the Annie. No AD carry, no ability to fight. Even the Pantheon at that point is not going to be nearly enough to peel off. So, you know, really well played by LNG, and it's them understanding their win conditions really well and utilizing the power of Rakan, who can dive in. Again, we're going to get the replay here. An aggressive play that feels like it needs to be made for Ultra Prime. They don't want to sit back and just lose, but they go immediately on top of the Rumble. They hope to burst him down. Rakan just gets to this fight so early, but Haichao with the flash immediately on top of Baiye, and from this point, it's not winnable for Ultra Prime. With the 80 carry down, you can't play. So, you know, really well executed by LNG, and just goes to cement the lead that they've been able to generate and really push this game towards its conclusion.
And if you're taking a look at the Rumble, you can just see plus 86, plus 53, plus 32. He just keeps healing off this Ocean Soul. Like, a squishy member, right? He's got a little bit of health, but again, not really, you know, Rumble ain't a tank. And when you get on top of him and you can't burst him out because there's an Ocean Soul, that's when you have to realize, as a jungler specifically, you know what? Perhaps I may have bungled this game a little bit. Bungled it the way they have, as LNG is in complete control. We've seen crazy throws in our time in the LPL here, Kman. I don't know if this is going to be one of them.
This would certainly be, but I just saw the minimap. Baiye's ulting.
Oh, hang on. Haichao is still alive, but he will finally fall as OVO can't save him. But guess what? Rumble shows up to the party. Everybody else shows up to the party as Baiye will fall as well. Down on the bout side, Fish One trying to deal in a 2v1, but look, he's healing. He's still alive, and he manages to find Zhang. And he's going to pull the feathers back to slow up XiaoXia as well. He's kiting in the opposite direction. But yes, the boys have shown up to party. Give Fish One the triple, please. No, he won't. Xiaofang will clean up the last kill. Saber is down. Ultra Prime are down. They've got the wave. LNG should march it down for the win.
Ultra Prime didn't want this game going on too much longer. A very strange 3v2 fight in the mid lane ends up closing it out in favor of LNG. From start to finish, they controlled the pacing of this game. One small hiccup in the middle, but outside of that, great look in game one from LNG.
Absolutely. They were the team that had direction. Ultra Prime directionless, and guess what, Kman? We should have known. XiaoXia, 5 deaths. We should have known that they were not going to win this game when he dies so much. 5 isn't even that bad, man. But yeah, this is really a tough look out of Ultra Prime, because this is a team that even in Split 2, we had some excitement around, right? They were a team that was in Nirvana that was like, hey, you know, this team looks like there's some really good qualities about them. And between Split 2 and Split 3, it just feels like it's not there anymore.
Yeah, it is. It's rough. I think that's a fair way to put it. I don't think we're looking at a good situation, all things considered, for Ultra Prime coming out of that game. I think really it just kind of fell apart in those first exchanges. Really, even just the first Dragon fight is when things kind of just got off the rails. Pretty unsalvageable from that point for the team, but you know, hopefully they end up learning from that, maybe opting into something that's a bit more forgiving from a comp perspective and less reliant on those early game skirmishes. It could be something nice going into game 2.
Yeah, and I mean, this was really well orchestrated. How about OVO? OVO was great this game, right? We didn't really sing his praises too much. We were just like, but anytime a fight started, we're like, there's OVO again, doing things, causing a ruckus, and, you know, 90% kill participation in that game, Kman. I mean, this seems like an easy MVP to me. I know it's a little early in the MVP, you know, post game, but I'm willing to stake my claim on it right here.
I think if Haichao hadn't been caught in side lanes multiple times,
Agreed.
maybe we have a different conversation here.
Agreed.
But, you know, with those plays happening, I agree with you. This Rakan was absolutely massive. I think part of that is just his ability to be able to join whatever fight was necessary. But what did we talk about for OVO in the early game, or in the pre-show? What did we highlight as his main strength for this team? His willingness to fight. And it's the willingness to walk over Talia, you know, ground without worrying that the engage is going to go awry. It's the willingness to jump in right on top of the main tank to peel for his top laner in the final fight. It's the lack of being scared. It's the absence of fear that ends up making him a true difference maker for this team, and we really saw that here.
Without a doubt, K-Man. I mean, again, I just think of that Talia play. I know we just talked about it, but like, that is just something you do not see Rakan do, right? They're just like, oh, you know, I'm gonna go get stunned up. He's just like, what stun? I didn't hear no stun. It's because he flashed through it. He's like, you can't stun when I flash, and he got to the other end, and no, it is what it is. You're just gonna lose there. I mean, we're gonna take a look at the damage charts here. I feel like Fish One got in a lot of damage late in that game. This is the fakest 25.8k damage I've seen in my life, bro. Like, listen, I'm not trying to roast this guy or anything. It wasn't a fantastic game. He really felt like he was along for the ride in this one.
My guy did not get a 1v2, 1v3 kill on the bottom side of the map at the end of the game to just be disrespected in the post game. We're ignoring the fact. We're ignoring all of the nets.
Well, then I'm going to choose to ignore he got a 1v3.
It's home field advantage. It's Fish 1 with Ocean Soul. Really, at that point, how can you really expect anything else coming in from him? So you gotta start to open your mind to all the possibilities, Yanni.
Bro, I hadn't even thought of that, bro. That bro was in his element the entire time, and we did not know until it was over. This is why he did the most damage. It's like in season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? You play on the ocean field. Your ocean monsters get extra attack. That's where all the extra damage came from, Kman.
Yeah, honestly, a bit unfair of the LPL.
Yeah, this was I'm always gonna think of this right here. This play, by the way, with this game, and when I think, how did Fish One do this game? I'm gonna think of that. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Not exactly the finest moment from the Xia in the entire world. Fish One does flash in there to pick up a kill. Unfortunately, this play is doomed at this point, and so more just trying to salvage as much as possible. I think the main takeaway here was that while this play was disastrous for LNG and could have absolutely been game-ruining, thankfully, Xiaofang actually got the Otacon. I think things could have been very different if that did not end up happening. That could have been the equalizer Ultra Prime needed. But really, I talked about this when we were setting it up. Vision control is so important in this particular section of the game. No ward in the pit on the bush when there's a Wukong on the enemy team is completely unacceptable from Ultra Prime as a setup. You can't allow that to happen, and it really cost them the game.
Yeah, and they had a ward up in the top side of the jungle too, so you know he's not there. Like, you don't see him with the rest of the squad. You know he's not to your right. Where is he? Where is he, K-Man? It's Schrodinger's Wukong. He is in the bush and not in the bush at the same time, and that was really game-breaking. That was where you knew, yeah, it felt like LNG was putting this one away and wrapping a bow on it. Everything else was just a formality. I mean, this fight, listen, if they don't have Ocean Soul, this is such a good look. The problem is, K-Man, they had Ocean Soul.
I think even without Ocean Soul, and you maybe trade, Zika on the top side here, it maybe looks a little bit better, but with Baiye being taken out by Haichao, who did a great job to just flash and focus him, like, I can't really see that fight being a full win for Ultra Prime. So much of their gold was on Kai'Sa, and that's really what it comes down to in the draft for me as we move into game number 2. They index themselves into, yes, a dive comp where you can dive with Pantheon and, you know, Rel and Kai'Sa and create opportunities there. I do believe that's worth noting, but a comp that if you lose in the early game, it's Kai'Sa or bust. And when you have such a short-range champion into all of this engage coming in from the side of LNG, it's just really difficult to execute on that kind of playstyle. I think they gave themselves too hard of a win condition, and I'd like to see something simpler.
Yeah, I think the really sad thing is they should not have lost in the early game, right? You've got this Pantheon that's such a strong pick. You have this Talia that can go and create man advantages, and they just don't do that. They don't create any man advantages. You know, you don't do anything to play around your either the Rel side that has CC or the Scion side that can go and knock somebody up with an ultimate, right? And, you know, credit to LNG, they didn't really present too many situations where they allowed Ultra Prime's comp to really go and make that play. But there were a couple of opportunities that we saw throughout the game that they were just unable to capitalize on. I think back to the Pantheon ultimate that landed, you know, over in the chickens, right? His GPS was not calibrated for that one. And that was really the story of the game for Ultra Prime, I think.
Well, let's not forget the Pantheon ult onto the top side to kill Haichao when third dragon was spawning as well, when Soul Point was spawning to just give that
was
over
really bad too.
For free. Like, you know, it's a lot of decisions in this game ended up going against Ultra Prime, I would argue, but there were plenty of, okay, we have to make a decision in this moment, and it's clear we're just not very good at doing that. That you know, don't ask yourself to do it going into game number 2, but looks like we're getting our MVP here.
Okay. You know what? Listen, I think throughout the game, OVO definitely better, but when you talk about key impact moment, it was Xiaofang. So I'm totally fine with this player of the game. This is an ethical player of the game. Your thoughts?
I agree. I think there were multiple parts in this game that Xiaofang did the absolute necessary thing to win. Of course, getting behind the rest of the team on the Wukong, like, this is the game-winning play for LNG, and Xiaofang is obviously the one who ends up making it. Worth noting, he also gets the smite down on Otacon, which, like I said, I really do think makes this play a lot easier for them as well. You know, a lot of big moments coming in from him, a lot of clutch moments during these setups, and the Wukong ended up making the pick worthwhile and really showcasing what Xiaofang can do. You know, we saw him last time against Ultra Prime have a really good series. It looks like he's off to that one again.
Yep, and we love an ethical MVP, a strong MVP. You know what else we love, Kman? We love our coffee subscribers. And if you'd like to support LPL English, you should consider becoming a coffee member, right? Coffee is the best way to support the LPL English project, since the vast majority of your contributions will go directly to the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading our broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays the on-air talent and our content creators. If you subscribe to our coffee, which should be linked in the chat right now, you can unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. Shout out everybody on the screen right now, but you get special shout outs in the end if you are the absolute GOATs. We want to thank everybody who has been here and supporting us there and supporting us in the chat, especially through what was a bit of a marathon of a pre-show that took a while to get into Game 1. But we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we return, we'll hopefully get into draft faster for Game 2 than we did in Game 1. We'll see you on the